Good morning and happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back or welcome to Ignite. We are so excited that you are all with us today. Just a little housekeeping items before I get started. If you've been on any other Ignites, it's pretty similar. If you can turn your cameras on, please sure to do so. We would love to see your faces. I know it's 9 a.m., but it helps with participation. Also, if you have any questions, be sure to unmute or say things in the chat. This session is really for you guys. So if you do have any questions, please ask them. It'll be helpful to everyone else as well. For today's session, we are joined by Larry Wanke. Larry is a member of the 2022 Agent Leadership Council. He is also the rainmaker of the Larry Wanke Group, which is actually one of the awesome top teams in our region. So that's pretty amazing. Larry is going to be talking to you guys about seller appointments today. Now there is an outline for this that I'm going to share in the chat right now. So if you want to open it and go along through it as Larry's talking, you can, but it will also be emailed to everyone afterwards. So I'm going to share that in the chat now. But Larry, take it away.
All right, good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Good deal. All right, awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Full disclosure, I have never taught a bold class and I've never taken one. Okay, so all of this is going to come out of this mind. Yesterday, I actually went through kind of an overview of everything that I do in the seller appointment process. I put it down in notes. Candidly, I practiced it last night. It was about an hour and a half, but I wasn't finished. So I'm going to try to go on my bullet point notes because I do not want to put you through that. Okay, but any questions, certainly I'm available. If we can move things along now, would be great. Questions after, super. And then look, if you want to email me, call me after the fact. I am always available if I could be of service in any way to help you with questions and so forth. So I want to get that out of the way. Okay, so let's get started. Seller appointments. All right, I felt the easiest way to do this was to put it in segments. Okay, that way we can kind of become experts at each segment so that ultimately we become an expert at working on seller appointments. Okay. First one is the pre-appointment phone conversation. All right. I find this to be critical because you're gathering a ton of information that's going to be very important for you to ultimately secure this listing. I have a notepad with me. I take copious notes. I ask a ton of questions. Okay. Ultimately, I want to know every aspect of their house. I want to know what their game plan is. So for example, I want to know their address if I don't have it. I want to know the time frame they'd like to sell within. Do they need to buy, rent, sell? Are they moving out of town? All of those things are important because remember, you're a full service realtor. You're not simply there to get the listing, but if they're going to be moving out of town, boy, you've got a great referral option for them. If they're going to be buying, you want to be their buyer's agent too. So you want to be able to coordinate that as well. Okay. We also want to know everything about the house. Believe it or not, if you pull things up on the MLS or on Realist, it's not always accurate. Maybe they made an addition, maybe they finished the basement and that wasn't known. You need to know all that information so when you start comping, you have the best available information to be as correct as you can. Okay. One of the questions that I always ask, I'd like to know what their thought process is on what they think their value is. Okay. And I'll explain that why a little bit more. But instead of coming out and saying, hey, what do you guys want to list it for? Because 9 out of 10 times they're going to say, well, that's why we called you. And then that nips that in the bud, right? So what I'll say is something to the effect, and this is after I've already asked some questions, we're kind of doing dialogue. I'll say, hey, in a perfect world, when Larry sells your house, how much would you like to walk away with? In terms, how much would you like? How much would you like to walk away with? And then they'll think for a second and they'll say, well, we were thinking around 200,000-ish or something. And then I'll clarify. I'll say, so is that your, anticipated sales price, or is that what you want to take home after all your costs and so forth? Okay. They'll usually answer that question and I'll jot it down. And again, explain why I think that's important later. Okay. I also want to know if they're interviewing other agents. Often they'll simply, at their original call, they'll say, hey, we're interviewing agents. We'd like you to come out. Obviously, then you're in competition. Okay. The first verse last from the standpoint of getting into their house. Okay. You talk to agents, you're going to get different responses. All right. My opinion is I want to be, if they're interviewing other agents, I want to be the last person in because I want this mug and my words to be the last that they see and hear before they make their decision. All right. I think the book said be first. And some people will argue that's the case. And why? Because they've got the first chance to close it, right? And if they close it, there's no other appointments. It's just been my experience when there's going to be multiple appointments. I've never had a seller call and say, hey, I'm going to have to cancel our appointment because, we selected another agent. It's never happened to me. So I kind of maintain that. Now, interesting stat, the 77% of first agent in front of a person typically gets it. All right. I get it. And I'm sure that there was a ton of research put into that. I'm just finding really one or two scenarios. I'm getting calls from people that I absolutely have sold not 100, but a ton of properties to, or a family member or whatever. And it's a guaranteed listing, or I'm in competition. I don't often run into it's just me and I'm going to get it. So just again, always to me, I always want to know if I'm in competition, and I always want to prepare as though I am in competition. Okay. Setting the appointment and dictating the day and time. The reason this is important is obviously last position, you got to kind of navigate that in the conversation. Hey, have you already scheduled with the other agents? Great. When are they coming in? When are you thinking about making a decision? I want to try to be last. Okay. So you're navigating that. Day and time becomes important just based on a busy schedule. And the fact, if you're not a morning person, do not agree to meet them at 7 a.m. I have never done a listing appointment earlier than 11 because I'm not a morning person. Okay. That's really important. And that's pretty easy to navigate too. Hey, can you come out 7 o'clock Thursday? You know what? I've got meetings all morning. How about, noon on Thursday or early evening, or heck, I'll come out at 9 o'clock if you want me to. I'll bend my schedule. It's just mornings are really tough for me. Okay. So I have kind of a response ready for that. All this information becomes super, super critical as you're preparing and ultimately getting to the listing appointment. Okay. So now when I complete the call, I simply say, great. Okay. I've already scheduled the appointment, all that good stuff. And I'm going to say, hey, guys, I'm going to follow up with an email. It's going to give you an overview of my background, a little bit about me, my marketing approach, some past client testimonials, and an overview of the process. Please take a good look at it because it'll help you to get to know me a little bit better. And ultimately, it'll help our appointment be more efficient. Okay. So I think that's a really important part. So then what I do at that, and by the way, now we're going to shift gears just a touch, because if you don't have that seller's packet, if you will, you want to create one. Not every agent has it, but what it is, there is a nice formatting command that will allow you want to compile almost like a resume. Okay. And you don't want it to be a boring, dry resume. You want it to have a little bit of pop. Okay. So I'll give a little bit of my background, a value proposition, what my commitment is to them, catchphrases, things of that, just something that's going to kind of draw people in. Brief. You don't want it to be super long. Then you want to maybe put in accolades or awards or associations you're involved in. You absolutely want to spend time on telling your clients in this brochure or packet rather about Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan. Guys, we work for the best brokerage in the land, right? Number one in the MLS. We want to be emphasizing that, especially for a newer agent, because it's just another arrow in your quill that you want to be able to draw on. Okay. Past client testimonials and endorsements. I know that's a little easier for an agent that's been doing this longer, but you can get endorsements. You can contact, everybody has a contact, a judge, a lawyer, whatever it is. Anytime someone's saying, hey, you're great to work with, you're hardworking, anything that you can put in there, again, you're just trying to position yourself so that these people are understanding this is a professional, this is who's taking time with this packet, and they're on top of their game. Okay. Then you want to go through your marketing approach in that same packet. Everybody kind of has a gauge of that. And then an overview of the process. Okay. Some agents will include a questionnaire. I don't do that because I almost find that some sellers will feel like, like a duty, like a preemptive duty before the meeting, and they don't do it. And then it's awkward when you ask for it, but you would just have to phrase it and really put some attention to it on that, original phone call by saying, hey, this package really important. It's going to help us, help you, that kind of thing. And then what I'll do is I'll format an email relatively quickly after that first call. Okay. It'll just say something to the effect of, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it was my absolute, pleasure speaking with you earlier. I just want to confirm our day and time of our meeting. And I invite you to please, read the PDF underneath. Or really what I'll probably usually say is, look, in the interim, I've attached a little bit about me, some past client testimonials, an overview of the marketing process, and an overview of the selling process. Please take a look, as I think you'll find this information is helpful and informative. Okay. Then I'll send that email out. Now, side note, I also have a buyer's packet. So when I'm engaging buyers, I also, after that first phone call, I'll send them a packet as well. Again, just with my information. Not everybody reads it, but the people that do tend to respond really favorably. So I think it's just, again, it's just another arrow in your quilt, makes you look professional, and it gives you a process. And, it helps you from the standpoint of, again, garnering people to understand you, get to know you, and the process in general. Okay. Now, preparation for the appointment. This is really important. A lot of this stuff you guys already know, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I'm just going to go over really quick. Okay. We want to pull the realist information on the property. We want to pull up an old MLS in the event it was sold, relatively recently, even a long time ago. There's good information in there. I'm going to check values on Realist. I'm going to check values on Zillow and Realtor.com. Don't scream, oh, Zillow. I'm not using Zillow to actually determine value. I just want to know what Zillow says because they do. They're looking on Zillow, they're looking on Realtor.com. I want to have the value so that when some of my talking points, when they say, well, Zillow says this, you just want to be able to know all that information. You also want to research the cities or the counties for any mandated inspections. Really important. And I think that's something that a newer agent might forget, especially if you're in an area that you're not familiar with. So do they have a point of sale? Is it interior or exterior? Geauga County, they have a septic test. You got to kind of familiarize yourself with that because sometimes your clients don't know this and they're going to have to be educated when you sit down to talk to them. Okay. Then we're doing the research for the comps. Everybody knows how to comp for all intents and purposes, but there's a really good template in the MLS that you can use for your CMA. I do it a little differently, a little bit more old school, and I'll include MLS. But again, that's kind of it's for another day type class. And I'm sure that we're going to have other classes just like that. But with the comps, you want to stay close to the property. You want to do like properties. Your sales are the most important, but you do want to include active because that's your competition and sometimes pending or contingent, when they're relevant. But ultimately what I'm trying to get, because they're going to be my most important talking points, are the sale, average sale price, highest price per square foot, average price per square foot, because those are all going to help me when I sit down with my valuation during my appointment. You also want to become a mini expert on the city. I don't know about you, but I don't know everything that's going on all the time and the developments and the fun festivals and all that kind of stuff. I just did a listing in Chardon, not my backyard. It's actually going to close on Friday. I had to do quite a bit of research just to familiarize myself with Chardon because people usually know their neighborhoods. And the more you express that again, you're framing yourself as an area expert or a neighborhood expert. Okay, so I think that's really, really important. All right, so now the listing appointment. I'm sure you guys have all taken classes on listing appointments, and there is more than one way to skin a cat. From start to finish in this process, I think you're tasked with compiling all this information and then bringing it together to your comfort level so that whether it's a phone call, a listing presentation, you're super comfortable with it. But that takes work and that takes practice. I put in here role play, self-talk, and visualizing. All those things are ultimately simply to get your confidence up and your comfort level, because it's not always easy walking in somebody's house. Sometimes it's rapid fire. Sometimes you're talking to brother, sister. I've had it where I've literally been it was like the French Inquisition. There's like 7 siblings are hitting you with all these questions, So the more prepared you are, both mentally and physically and everything else, the better served you're going to be able to kind of control that atmosphere, dictate the tempo of the appointment, but also allowing for questions because dialogue builds rapport, but you don't want to get off the rails too much. And I find that visualizing self-talk is really good for that. Okay. Be on time. That's obvious. Dress business casual. I am not, the sharpest dresser in the world, but when I'm going to walk into somebody's house and try to secure a listing, I'm going to look my very best. I'll make sure my wife sees me before I walk out the door, just to make sure there's no dog hair on my pants and so forth. Critical. All right. Now, your number one goal when you are trying to secure a listing, or your number one goal is to secure the listing, right? Well, how do you do that? Obviously, you do it by preparation, okay? But you also have to build rapport. It is critical, okay? No one wants to hear somebody reading a script in the appointment. We've all probably had contractors in our house that do that. And it's like they lose your interest in 10 seconds. they are not the person you want to work with, okay? So building rapport is critical. We're not going to spend a ton of time on that, but we know how to do that. Eye contact. Make sure you're looking at the husband and the wife equally, okay? You're listening. You're engaging. If a question comes off the rails a little bit, that's okay. Have some fun with it and then get them back on top, okay? So another thing is I see that there's not a lot of like, what do you do when you walk in a house? What's next? What's next? So I thought I would bring that up. When I walk into a house, the first thing I do is say, hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you. I'm really looking forward to our appointment. Is there somewhere I can put my belongings? In fact, can I put my stuff on the kitchen table? The reason you're selecting the kitchen is it tends to be the most comfortable area in the house. It's where people are most relaxed and at ease. And that's where you want, that's the kind of environment that you want to be in when you're delivering your presentation. Now, if you can't do that, go dining room, but get your stuff down, okay? Then the next thing I do is say, hey, who wants to give me the tour? All right. Now, the book will say, go by yourself, digest everything. I completely disagree with that. And the reason is this. You're going to garner a lot of information in that 5 to 10 minute walkthrough. You really are. They're going to point obvious things out that maybe you didn't see or important things to them. They're going to give you a gauge of their personality. Guys, you're about 10 minutes away from a business interview, okay? And the more you're armed and the more you know the people that you're talking to, the better served you're going to be to dictate and mirror their actions and so forth to try to build that rapport, okay? So I always want them to walk me through. Okay, so then we're done with the walkthrough. What I'll do is say, okay, we sit down, you want to compliment the house instantaneously. Hey, you know what? Boy, this is in such great condition. And I was really surprised, something that you were excited to see that you weren't anticipating. Like, boy, I was surprised, how big the bedrooms were. That's fantastic. Those closets. So you just want to, you don't want to be overly sappy, but you also want to let them know that you looked, you listened, and there's aspects of their homes that you really appreciate. Because if you appreciate your home, you're going to be able to sell it and convey to others how great it is. And that's who I want to work with. So you want to be able to convey that, okay? Then the first question that I ask is, hey, did you guys get a chance to review the packet, the information that I sent you? If the answer is yes, great. Do you have any questions? Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, okay? If the answer is no, that's okay. Don't make them feel uncomfortable. Just simply say, hey, I brought in a bridged version of it, so I'm going to leave it with you. It's going to give you quite a bit of my background, which I'll share a little bit, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on me because, this process is ultimately about you guys, okay? So you share that with them just to find out if they saw it, because then you know what they know about you, what they don't know about you, because now maybe you need to elaborate on a few other things, okay? Then I'm going to ask, has anything changed since our last conversation? Okay, walk me through your goals again, if you don't mind, your timetable, your next home needs, and all that good stuff. The reason you do that is this. That original phone call was valuable, but if you were talking to the husband and the wife was not in the background, those answers are going to change. And conversely, if you were talking to the wife on that conversation, and now the husband's here, those answers may change. And that may shift and dictate some of the things and steps and strategies that you use, okay? What we will typically hear, and what we're trying to get at here outside of the obvious, okay, is what is their transition plan, okay? And why is that important? Because you need to help coordinate that, all right? If they're moving out of state, you absolutely want to say, you know what, Keller Williams has an amazing referral program. Here's what I do, and I take it a step further. I will actually reach out to the local brokerage, wherever you're going to be moving. I'm going to talk to the team lead. I'm going to say, hey, I've got some clients moving in town. Here's the area they're targeting. Here's the price point. What two agents would you recommend for that in this case? I will interview those agents, screen them, and I'm going to take all the busy work off your shoulder. And I'm going to make it as easy as possible. Is that something you might find value in? Oh, absolutely. Now, sometimes they'll have an agent, but if they don't, guys, right there, if I'm able to secure this, I got that referral. Even if I don't have the listing and someone else didn't say that, there's a possibility of me being able to secure that referral, okay? Do they need to sell first and then buy, okay? If they do, you have to walk them through the nuances of that, okay? Because this is not a simple buyer's market. Low inventory, super competitive. So you have to put a plan together there, okay? Conversely, do they want to buy first and then sell? That was a mortal sin back in the day, okay? But now it's actually better because You remove the busy work at the end and the concern and the fear. Gosh, we got to find a house. You find it and then you sell. It's better now. And that was something that I never thought I would say. But, candidly, again, it is. Okay. So if they do want to purchase, that's a good time to say, hey, do you need a lender referral? I can help you with that. You just want to engage it, make sure that they know that it's important to you and that you're going to put a plan together for them. But you don't want to spend an hour doing that because, right, you're trying to get the listing. So you can either come back to that at the end once you've secured it or say, hey, this is really important and I want to make sure we coordinate this. And I don't want to spend all our time doing that right now because right now your house is the most important thing, but I'm going to give you a call tomorrow or the next day so we can, again, put a game plan together. Okay. Now we're going to transition into ultimately the listing presentation. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm always going to just kind of reiterate my background briefly. Okay. Hey, guys, I've been doing this for 21 years. I started my own team 2 years ago. I have 4 agents. I absolutely love what I do. Born and raised in Cleveland, and real estate's my passion. Okay. Then I'll put like my catchphrase in, which is pretty much this. Okay. Sometimes I'll change it a little bit. What I'll say is I'll transition and, honestly, candidly, I believe that the most important part of the buying and certainly the selling process is selecting the right real estate agent. I believe I am the right real estate agent. No one will work harder than I will on your behalf. No one will compete more diligently than I will on your behalf. I'm going to dot your I's, I'm going to cross your T's, and I'm going to go to battle for your interest. That is my commitment to you. And I want to make sure I say it. You may hear it again, because that is the most important thing that I want to convey to them. Okay. So I'll say something to that effect. All right. I missed it a little bit because I was looking at my notes, which I shouldn't have, but usually that comes right off the top of my head. And you want it to come right off the top of yours. Okay. It cannot sound scripted like I just did. Okay. Great teacher, right? Anyways. Okay. So then I'm going to transition into right from there. I'm going to say, and you know what, to provide the best possible service to you, I've aligned myself with Keller Williams Greater Metropolitan. Keller Williams Metropolitan, I'm extremely proud to say, is the #1 office in our entire MLS. That means we've sold more homes by volume and by number of units than any other brokerage. The beauty of that, guys, is that I have access to 400 of the top producing agents in our area. We network together, we game plan together, we strategize together. It is one of the best decisions that I've ever made because all of those things that I benefit, I'm able to bring to you, not only for our success, but more importantly, for your success. Okay, so you want to hit that home. Take the time with it, make sure that they understand just what a fantastic brokerage you're working for, because it does matter to people. Okay. Now, I put a side note in here, and the reason is I thought of this when I was kind of walking myself through stuff. When I started off, I had some kind of mental glitches. I had this perception of, I'm a new agent. Why in the world would they hire me? It was just in my head. It was this mental block. Okay. It was a self-limiting belief for sure. So what I did, and it came up a couple of times in earlier appointments. So what I did is I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to attack this head on. So I formatted a response. I don't have to say this obviously anymore because I'm not a new agent, but I formatted a response that I would work in someplace. I'd say something to the effect of, it's funny because the same questions came up a couple times on my last few listing appointments. And that was, hey, you're a new agent. Why you? And I got to tell you, I'm so excited to answer that question, because it's true. I am a new agent, but I want to say real estate is my absolute passion. I eat it. I sleep it. I drink it. I will dedicate 100% of my time towards selling your home. I've aligned myself with the best brokerage, as I said before. Those strategies that I've learned from them are things that I'm going to implement to ensure our success, to ensure your success. Okay. So what I did there is I eliminated, number one, a mental roadblock that I had. And I also gave some information that honestly, many sellers are going to be thinking when a newer agent walks in. So that's just one example. If you feel like I'm too young, I'm too old, whatever it is, have something that makes you feel better that you can respond with and talk to, that you can interject or be prepared to answer. because the hardest part at the beginning of this listing process thing is you just, you don't know when you're going to get hit with a question that catches you off guard. It's fun, it's challenging, but the things that you're uncomfortable with, be prepared for, okay? Marketing, pretty obvious. Don't want to spend a ton of time on this. We all know where our marketing comes from. We also know our strengths and weaknesses. I can tell you one of my weaknesses is technology and social media. I hate it, okay? That's why I have my wife do a ton of that stuff. But I've educated myself enough to be articulate about it and explain what we do. I do it briefly, trust me, I say that, but we actually do the work as well. It's just not me physically doing it, okay? The other thing is I brought up here open houses. For some reason, I would say the last 12, 13 listing appointments I had, open houses have come up strongly in one fashion or another. Either people didn't want them or they thought it was the most important thing in the world. So what I started doing is saying, hey, how do you guys feel about open houses? And the response will be, oh my God, listen, I'm not taking my Sunday. You can't, don't even ask me. Okay, so they don't like open houses, all right? The other side is, oh yeah, we bought our last 3 homes with open houses. I think they're critical. Great. Then what I'll say, if it goes to that direction, excellent, because we take them very, very seriously here. It's one of the things we pride ourselves on. And then we'll go into all the things that we do to promote our open house. Okay. And I don't have to go through all the bullet points. It could even include, listen, honestly, on a Sunday, if we have an open house from 1 to 3 on a Sunday, Saturday, I'm walking through your neighborhood and I'm knocking on doors. I'm alerting everybody to that. I'm introducing myself. Yes, does that bring some nosy neighbors? Sure. But some of those nosy neighbors may know someone that would love your home. Just something that you're showing them that you do above and beyond. It doesn't have to be that. But again, you're trying to create value propositions throughout this and frame yourself in the most professional, prepared light you can. Okay. And then what I'll usually finish up with the marketing and say, look, our marketing is second to none. Everyone on planet Earth will be aware of your home. They'll have access to amazing photographs, professional photographs, beautiful descriptions, highlights, and so forth about your house that is just going to frame it in the best possible way. Okay, and then you stop. All right, so then now we're sliding into CMAs. Okay, I find this to be, in this market, the most challenging aspect of our listing appointment. Okay, there was a time, guys, and I've been doing this for a long time, I could walk into a house with the complete and total knowledge of what that thing was going to sell for within 3 to 5%, because the lion's share of what I did was in a 3 to 4 community area. Okay, I could absolutely do that. By the way, I'm going to stop real quick on that original phone conversation. Don't ever give them your projected listing price. Never, ever, ever. Okay, very important, because a lot of sellers will ask, hey, well, now, so what do you think it's worth? Okay, you don't want to tell them, because what you want to do is you want to be able to get in front of them to sell yourself. All right, and if you just give them a number, you've just given away half the process. All right, so let's throw that over there. Now, value. The reason I want to spend a little time with this is because I see such a change. Okay, and this isn't an epiphany coming from me. You've all seen it. These numbers are changing drastically in terms of these sales prices. Okay, so, and I'm going to give you one example, and I think it crystallizes what I'm talking about. I had a gentleman call me probably 6 months ago. Hey, we're going to be interviewing agents. We'd like you to come out. He was extremely forthright, very professional. He said, we are interviewing the top 5 agents that show up on Zillow for South Euclid, and we're picking 2 more. He goes, you were number 3, which I guess I was number 3 at the time. I didn't know that. Okay, so I said, great. I got off the phone. I'm thinking, 7 agents. I mean, who interviews 7 agents? Well, this guy does. Okay, I got to that appointment. I prepared like crazy because my thought process was like, hey, this is nice. I get a chance to really compete, because he even told me the names of several of them, not all of them, but I'm like, oh, big hitters, good. So it's just a great opportunity to kind of test my skill. Prepared like crazy, walked in there. This guy was the most educated seller I've ever worked with. He had researched, he would ask you questions knowing the answers. It was such a wonderful mental joust. I really enjoyed it. Okay, we kind of clicked. Long story short, okay, out of the 7 people there, he, at the end of the appointment, I said, look, I said, Mr. Peck, I can't tell you how much I would love to work with you. I said, it's such a pleasure. And again, I can assure you, no one's going to outwork me on this. I will get this done for you. And I think you know that as well, you know? So, and we're back and forth. I said, and I did my closing statement, which I'll repeat again. I'll say, do you feel like you'd be comfortable working with me? Sure. Yes, I do. Great. Let's get started. And then you shut up, right? So I waited. He paused. He hesitated. It was almost like he was going to give it to me, I felt, but he didn't want to give that to me. You know what I mean? So he ended up waiting an entire weekend. I kept going back and forth. I tried to close him because it was just his nature. He was a little aggressive, so I was mirroring that. I want to let him know that I was aggressive, okay? So anyways, he calls me on, I think it was either Sunday or Monday. He said, hey, you ready to sell my house? I said, absolutely. I said, you know what? I'm so excited. I said, you know, I've been thinking about you all weekend, which I did touch base with him via text and email several times. So we start a conversation and I said, I got to ask you a question. Did I come in at the highest list price, recommended list price? And he goes, not even close. I go, you're kidding me. For this property, the South Euclid, unique property, big tutor, really cool aspects to it. I recommended 325, okay? Which I thought was a bit of a stretch in the marketplace, but it was just a really cool house. I said, I got to ask you. I said, you know, what was the range? I said, where did other people come in? The quote unquote, okay, top producing agents in South Euclid that did the most volume and were the most familiar with the area came in with a sale price range, suggested sale price range from $250,000 to $375,000. That is $125,000 disparity. Okay. It was like an epiphany to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? The quote unquote best are that far apart. I know pricing to a degree is an opinion, but that's crazy. Okay. It's crazy. And I walked out of that and I said, you know what? I've got to change some of the things I do because these are great agents. They're not bad. They're really good. I know they prepare just like I do, yet they're coming up with that much of a difference in price. Okay. So to that point, we're in the CMA. This is how I handle my CMAs. Okay. Because I do not want to lose a listing in this environment for price point. Here's how I handle it. Okay. I review the numbers. If there's photos, I take my time with it. I explain to them what the price per square footage is, average price per square, what the average sale price was. I talk about some adjustments. Hey, we always go up in here, we go down for this, nice and slow, okay? You'll get a lot of information the slower you go because if you say the average price around here was 200,000, that's good. You'll hear them, they don't like that, all right? It's okay. You're continuing to say, look, don't hit me with the frying pan. I just wanna walk you through these numbers. So we take our time, we do that. At the end of that, all right, I will frame it this way. I'll use a range. I'll say, okay, the market suggests that our sale range is between 200,000 and 222,000. That's what these numbers suggest. How does that make you feel? If the answer is, well, and you're going to get an answer, okay? If the answer is, well, you know, we'd really love to get 220, great. You can say at that moment, I recommend 225 because your numbers are accurate, okay? But you have to create a range. So you say, okay, great. You just established the list price. Beautiful, okay? What you're getting more often than not now is, are you crazy? Oh, that's inaccurate. My friend across the street, you know, he's going to list his for 400. Everybody has a buddy who sold their house for 100,000 more than they're supposed to, okay? So when you get that response, this is how I handle it. I say, you know what? I don't blame you. This is the most subjective market that I've ever seen, and I've been doing it for 21 years. Values has shot up to a level that we certainly didn't anticipate, okay? It has made fools of us so-called professionals. It has made fools of us realtors, of us appraisers, of sellers and buyers. And with that in mind, because of this marketing climate, we can stretch our list price. But I want to say this. It's really important to try to find that sweet spot. What's that sweet spot? It's not too low and it's not too high because what it's going to, it leans to the higher side, okay? What it's going to do is drive traffic. Traffic sells property, okay? They're going to identify it's a good price. And then what traffic does when we have an exceptional product, which we do, Mr. Seller, it is going to demand multiple offers. Now, obviously I can't guarantee that. But I can tell you based on my experience this year, this is the approach I've taken and I've had a great success with it. But we want to find that sweet spot. And what I believe that sweet spot is, and I will change gears based on that response and I will shift that price up. Guys, I would have never done that 3 years ago. Never, okay? but it works now, because what I didn't do is I wasn't the jellyfish and said, okay, if you want to go that high, I'll do it. No, I transitioned comfortably into it without admitting that I wasn't 100% sure where value is. And that may sound crazy, but I'm telling you, I'm doing it and it's working. Unless it's ludicrously out of the realm, you can slide that up, okay? And then you say to them, okay, so does that sweet spot sound good for you? And if the answer is yes, wonderful, okay? And it's a little bit higher than that range, all right? If it's way higher, I still don't want to lose the listing, because another agent's gonna say, okay, we'll do that all day. I will say, unless it's ludicrous, I'll say, okay, you know what? Let's give that a shot. All right. We are taking a risk based on these numbers, and we do have some hurdles that we have to overcome, but I'm willing to take a chance because this is an exceptional house and I'm seeing sale prices shoot through the roof. Okay. So I'll do that, but we have to do it with the understanding that these numbers, okay, if in fact the market suggests these numbers are correct and we don't get a procure a buyer within the first 14 to 21 days or procure an offer, we have to be willing to talk about a price reduction. So we're going to attack this. We're going to try it. I'm going to try to get you what we listed this for, but you have to also prepare them for the possibility that you're going to have to reduce the price. Okay. And just do it gently, gently. For all intents and purposes, they're usually really pleased that, hey, you know, they got close to where they thought they would list price wise. Because guys, some of these values are off the charts. And I'm looking at my time. I want to share one other thing really quick that blew my mind. I got a call from a gentleman who was an investor. He had a ranch style home that he was fixing up in East Cleveland. Okay, we know the first thing we hear is, oh gosh, it's a tough market. Well, it was up in Forest Hill neighborhood. So it's up the hill, nice, beautiful area. Okay. And I went out to see him. I pulled my comps. He wants to get $300,000 for an 1,800 square foot ranch in East Cleveland. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself preemptively, I'm like, this is crazy. I pulled numbers. I think the highest sale was like 225 and it was a 3,500 square foot, beautiful, you know, brick colonial. Okay. I go to this house. This gentleman and his wife did such an amazing job with the renovation. I can't tell you. It was absolutely gorgeous. Okay. But I'm walking him through this and he's like, we got to get 300. We got to get 300. I'm like, Jamal, I said, I want you to get 300. And if we could put this baby on a flatbed and slide it over a city or two, I'd get you 400. But in this market, we just can't do it. Okay. We went back and forth. We had a really nice meeting and we connected, but I was being honest. I thought I was being the professional that was helping him make the right choice. We even started talking about other options. I'm like, look, you know, do an Airbnb. I said, gosh, you could probably rent this baby out for 300, 400 a night, you know, with Cleveland as the attraction, they're close, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, we lose contact. I reached out to him several times. He actually reached back out to me. Well, I didn't know this, but he was interviewing a ton of other agents, all right, a ton. Well, he calls me, okay? This was about a week ago. He said, hey, Larry, I didn't even know who it was. I looked at my phone, I'm like, gosh, it's in my phone, so I must know him. I had to look through the text to see who it was as I'm talking to the guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's him. He's like, hey, Larry, it's Jamal, you know, we're talking. He said, hey, I wanted to circle back with you about my property in East Cleveland. I said, oh yeah. I said, how are things going? What'd you end up doing? I didn't track it, full disclosure. He goes, it just sold. I go, you're kidding, what'd you get? $325,000. I go, excuse me? He goes, $325,000. Guys, the comps were 100,000 off that. Who appraised that? I do not know. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how an agent agreed to do it. All right. So we get to talk and he's like, look, I really liked you. I liked your approach. I liked your energy. We're going to be doing some others. I would like you to come out and give us evaluations, knowing now that we're going to target that same area and that we can get these higher prices. Apparently he had some issues with the agent that he didn't love, blah, blah, blah. But I'm thinking, why would you want another agent? She just got you $325,000. But out of the 10 other agents he talked to, 9 of them were kind of in my ballpark. One said they'll do it, and that agent was rewarded, as was he. So this market is literally making fools of us all. There's no question about it, okay? I just think that's important to note. That's why when you're framing and getting price point, you got to change a little bit, okay? And it's not something that I used to do at all, okay? So now sliding into another important, I think, change, and this might not be popular, but listen, I'm going to shoot from the hip with you. This is how I do things. If I can help you, use it when it works. If it doesn't work, throw it out the window. Okay. Commissions. Right now, listings are worth their weight in gold. They have been for about a year and a half. They're going to sell faster. You're going to put in less work. You're still going to have the opportunity to garner buyers and other clients and other people. Listings are the lifeblood of our business. No question about it. Okay. With that in mind, you don't want to lose a listing for commission. There was a time when I would walk out of a house before I would compromise my commission. Walk out. No question about it. Okay. And because my thought was this, and it's the same thing we're taught, it's the same thing we hear. My value proposition is such that I am going to negotiate better. I am going to procure better terms. So in other words, let me just phrase. My thought process is no one's going to negotiate better. So I'm going to get Mr. Seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the highest point. I am going to negotiate the best terms. I am going to shoulder all of the anxiety, burdens, questions, and concerns. I'm going to make this process as seamless as possible while I'm procuring you the highest number and the best terms. My value is critical to this process. You have to believe that, okay? So how that argument would go is I would state that a little bit more articulately, and then I would say, so please understand, okay, your net out, what you're going to make is going to be more on the back end than what you save that $2,000 on commission from an agent that is not going to offer you the same services, okay? So that's kind of how I would navigate. Well, now, how many times have you pulled open the MLS and you're showing a buyer one of your houses and they're offering you 1.5% commission or 1% or 2%, okay? Why do you think that is? Is it because the agent is so greedy that they're taking the lion's share of the commission? Or is it they took a reduced commission, therefore they still have to make money, so they're passing that on to you, all right? I believe it's the latter. Even your big hitters, look at some of their commission scales. They're not the standard 3 or the 3.2 anymore. They rarely are, okay? My rule, okay, has always been, I am going to offer my buyer's agent, okay, whoever procures the buyer for me, a minimum of 3% on the first 100 and 2 on the balance. Now that's unless we climb up higher price point, then you want to tier it, but that's a whole nother discussion. That's what I'm going to do because I find that has been the norm for the last several years, and I want to maintain that. I want buyer's agents to make money, okay? But what I don't want to do is lose a listing for commission, okay? So that same fight I would do so diligently, I've shifted my thought process, okay? Because know this, other agents are doing it. I don't want to bore you with details, but I just secured a listing. Actually, how much time we have? Okay, I just secured a listing. The gentleman interviewed 4 people, okay? It went well, kind of went dark for like 2 weeks. He calls me back, hey, let's listen. We're going to be putting it in today, okay? It's in the city of Euclid. He said, I want you to do it. I scheduled a photographer, all that stuff. So I said, okay, I'm going to send you the paperwork. He calls me up. He goes, what's this commission? I said, well, we discussed that. He goes, no, we didn't. I said, well, we did because I'm going off my notes. And I already gave him a little bit of a reduction. He says to me that the 3 other agents offered him 4% commission. I said, Alonzo, I said, I just find that so hard to believe. I said, are you working with discount brokerages? He's like, no, it was Howard Hanna, whatever it was. I'm throwing that out. I don't remember. Okay. And I said, 4%. I said, Alonzo, I can't work for 4%. I can't do that. I said, I know we've engaged in this. I know we've, put a lot of time and energy into this. I said, but I can't do that. I said, I'm unwilling to do that. He's like, well, then we're at an impasse. He goes, because I'm not paying, I gave him 6.5%. He goes, I'm not paying 6.5%. So I'm there put to it. It's not a big listing, but it's a listing. Okay. And I also believe I'm the best served to help this gentleman. I liked him. I want to service him. So here I am put in a position that, am I going to reduce his commission to 4%? Well, the answer is no, I'm not. But am I going to adjust it to secure this? So I've got to make a quick decision in my head. I digest it, I process it. I'm like, I got time into this. This thing should sell pretty quickly. I'm going to give him a reduction. So I end up settling on 5.25%. Okay. I haven't gone that low in forever. Okay. This stuff is starting to happen because I'll tell you, if someone could save $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in this climate, Sellers aren't stupid. They understand the value they're bringing to you too. They know stuff's flying off the shelf, okay? They're going to start negotiating more. Agents are identifying that they're going to start doing it, so they're preemptively reducing their commission. You have to have a mental stopgap, okay? We're not discount brokers. Our value is greater than that 5.5%. It is. There's no question. But the decision we're going to start being put to, which I've already been several times, is, am I willing to lose a listing for a percentage point in a market that is so exceptional that listings are flying off the shelf? And my honest answer is, I'm not willing to do it. I'm not going to lose a listing for that, okay? And that's something you have to be conscientious of. I'll tell you what I do, what I've been doing, which again, guys, I've never done this. And again, this might be unpopular, okay? But I'm trying to help you identify some of the things I'm seeing in this marketplace that I believe are things you really have to grasp, understand, and prepare for, okay? I'll come in and say, look, our commission, when we get to the commission section, I'll say my commission is 7%, but I really want this listing. And I'm willing to sharpen my pencil a little bit. I'm willing to go 6% or sometimes 6.25%, whatever it is. There's situations, all right? And I don't want to get too in depth, but I'll say, I'm willing to go 6% on this, and I'll shut up. 9 out of 10 times with these people, oh, well, someone else said they'll go 5. Then I'm still doing the same argument, pressing the fact of my value proposition against that 1%, but at least I'm not trying to bridge a gap of 2.5% or having walk out of the appointment and the guy or the gal not even give me a chance because they were saving, $5,000 with another agent. I want to be preemptive to that, give them a reduction. And if they like that, awesome. If they don't, you're put to tough decisions. I will not go to 4%. I'm not going to do it, but I'll guarantee you there are agents that do it, good agents, okay, because they don't want to lose a listing. So be prepared to identify your comfort zone with that, what you're willing to do, what you're not. Remember, your value is exceptional to this process. As you get better, as you get good, you are going to command a higher price for your client. You're going to take the stress and worry off their back. You're going to get them better terms. Okay, don't forget that. But don't lose a listing for a percentage point and a half or 2, because sellers are now, unlike ever before, they want to negotiate it, okay? It was so much easier back in the day to convince them of your value proposition, win the day, walk out with the listing, high five your wife when you get home. It's much more challenging. So I want you to be aware of that, okay? All right, then in closing, how do we close it? All right, I already told you what I say, but I'll just give you kind of a quick overview. Again, design this and format it to your comfort level, okay? We all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. I have a tendency to be a little intense sometimes. I know that. My wife tells me every 9 minutes. So I have to calm things down a little bit when I'm doing it. But I also want to make sure they understand that I'm enthusiastic. I'm going to attack this for you guys, okay? So here's how I do it, kind of, so we got through the price point, we got down to the commission. Now what I'll do is say, okay, I want to make sure that I've answered all your questions. Do you guys have any questions? Did I miss anything? Did I miss articulating any part of this? And then you just wait. Do they have any questions? Often they do not. Sometimes they do. If they do, it's really important to make sure you close that loop, okay? You want to answer that final question, okay? So then what I'll do is at that point, I'll say, okay, so I asked the questions, I finished it. Then I'll say, well, guys, I can already tell you, I would absolutely love to work with you. You have a beautiful home. I am so confident I can sell this for you, and I want to be your realtor, okay? I'll briefly repeat my little value catchphrase. I just want to reiterate, okay? No one is going to work harder or compete more diligently on your behalf than I will. No one. I'm going to dot your I's. I'm going to cross your T's. I'm going to shoulder all the anxieties, all the busy work for you. I have big shoulders, okay? And then I'm going to reserve the other side for anything else you need, okay? I'm going to be with you in this process from start to finish. I'm that guy that picks up the phone at 9:30 at night. Not every agent can say that. If you've got a problem at 10, try me sometime. I'll pick up, okay? So I'm trying to reconnect right there, all right? Then I'll say, then I'll slide into, now, are you guys, okay, I've answered all your questions. Do you feel like you'd be comfortable working with me? And that answer is almost always going to, I shouldn't even say, I've never had someone say, no, I'm not. Okay. If they say that, then we got to redirect and, restudy our presentation because we missed it. All right. So what I'll say is, now, do you feel comfortable working with me? All right. That answer is yes. Great. Let's get started. With wide eyes, happy face, I'm ready to pull out the listing agreement. Okay. And shut up. That can go in many different directions at that time, but you'd be surprised how many times husband looks at the wife, wife looks at the husband, you don't say a word, it feels like it's a 2-hour process when it's 30 seconds, and they'll say, yeah, you're right, let's do it. I've had it happen, I don't know, 10 times this year. Now, sometimes don't panic if they're savvy enough to say, you know what, Lair, we really liked you, but we have to think about it. We have to digest. You can go one more hit, sometimes two. Don't overdo it. People don't want to be pressured and stranglehold. Okay. Now, everybody handles this differently. That's my approach. Okay. Again, I hope that I was able to convey just how much I want to work with them. I hope that I was able to convey I'm the best, person for the job, but I don't want to strangle them at the end. It can ruin everything I built. I have that rapport, I have a level of professionalism that I portrayed to them, and now the decision is theirs. I just know they need to make the right one, and it's me. Okay, and that's kind of what you're trying to project. Okay, so then they say yes. All right, real quick. Oh, we got time. Yeah, I flew through this. I had a lot of stories that probably would have bored you to tears, but they kept coming into my mind, and I stopped. Anyways, so then what you want to do? They say, yeah, we want it. All right. If they say, Lair, let's get started. At that moment, you can do one of a couple things. You can literally pull out the listing agreement, fill out the disclosures with them first, get them comfortable with the paperwork, and then pull out the listing agreement and just fill that in and have them sign it. What I honestly don't do that, okay? But I think it's a good idea, so I thought I'd bring it up. I have a lot of confidence that that handshake, that mutual decision is going to be final. And what I'll say is, I'm going to forward you the paperwork tonight, okay? We're going to go over it. We'll review it together, but it's much easier to engage this electronic, kind of signature system because we're going to be using it a lot. And I want to make sure you're comfortable with it throughout the process. So I'm going to get that out to you tonight. That's what I'll do, okay? And then we review the disclosures, all that kind of stuff. And then you kind of walk them through what to anticipate, especially if they're new sellers. Okay. Hey guys, I just want to make sure you have a gauge and an understanding of how this goes. All right. Next steps. I'm going to have my photographer come out. We want to make sure we're picture ready. We want to have the house as if you're having a dinner party and your boss is going to be snooping all over the place. That's how we want to frame our house. Okay. So we schedule the photos. We're going to determine the list date. I'm going to determine the time to measure. It may be right then and there. I may come back depending on our timetable. Okay. We also want to walk them through the showing process. Believe it or not, that's not common knowledge to everybody. So you really want them to have an understanding because a lot of them right then and there will say, okay, no showings for me on Wednesday through Sunday. And I'll say, now, did you want me to sell this house for you? Like with a little smirk and a little smile. Well, what do you mean? Guys, we can't limit our showings for 2 days a week. This is a busy world we live in. We have to make sure this is accessible to people. Let me help you. Let me sell this for you. Something like that, just kind of silly, but letting them know we're not doing that. Okay. Now, if there has to be some limitations, okay, put it in. But at the end of the day, you want to give as much carte blanche as possible. I have buyers that if they get a decline for a house, they're not coming back. Okay. So we really want to make it as accessible as possible. So I go, quite into depth about that. And then lastly, which is important, especially in this brave new world, you want to identify their preferred method of communication. Okay. Do they like the text? Do they like email? Do they like phone calls? And try to observe that because people get frustrated with that. Oh my gosh, you called me after 7 o'clock. How could you do that? Well, in my mind, I'm like, really? I'm going to phone till midnight. But I want to make sure that I am catering to their needs. That's part of what we do and part of what we offer. And again, just, in closing, again, I tried to whiz through this. Remember this, there's more than one way to skin a cat. What I just walked you through is what I'm comfortable with. I think what you're tasked with doing is compiling a whole bunch of information, breaking it down into segments because it's easier, okay? And then determine what works best for you. Maybe some of the things I said, gosh, I'm just not comfortable saying it. That's okay. There's other ways to say it and frame it, okay? Remember this too. Despite the craziness with the commission, despite the craziness with the CMA, you are a valuable asset. There was a time when I was embarrassed about being a realtor because I really only did it to facilitate my investment business, buying and selling, rentals, that kind of stuff. I was embarrassed. I didn't even tell people I was an agent. I look back on that that is so ludicrous. We are in the greatest profession in the world. Your instincts, your work ethic, your abilities can afford you such a wonderful lifestyle, okay? You dictate your own schedule. You're limited, your earnings are unlimited. Do you want to be an individual agent? Great, do it. Do you want to be a team agent? Maybe get some mentorship? Great, do it. Do you want to start a team one day? Do it. The resources at Keller Williams will absolutely help you get to where you want to be. Have faith and confidence and trust in yourself, but work hard to get yourself in a position where you're feeling comfortable with these aspects of the process, and the sky's the limit. And go out, secure these listing appointments. I hope you don't go up against me because I've given you all my secrets and I will probably lose to you, but I'm happy to share them. And at the end of the day, best of luck. I made it, 9:59. I'm done. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them now, later, whenever.
Larry, that was amazing. Thank you so much. There's not even that many questions in the chat because I think everyone is listening very intently. Sharing your personal experiences is so valuable, and I think we all really enjoyed hearing it. If anyone wants to share any questions in the chat or wants to unmute and ask them, feel free to, or if you have any big takeaways or ahas from today, feel free to share. I know we have one over here.
I have to, Larry, hi, it's Nancy.
Hey, Nancy.
I have to say that there would be no reason you would not get a listing, and that's what everybody has to realize. You are enthusiastic and honest and caring, and that's what sells real estate.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, and I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, most of us are in this business because we like to work with people, because we like to problem solve, we like to assist others. And if you keep that at your framework and work really hard to get good at that, it always comes through when you're talking to people. I was raised by a single mom. I was raised by a single mom who was overly conscientious of everyone's feelings, okay? So that's like instilled in me. Yet my life course was like being an athlete and being with all these guys who are, macho. So there's this weird dynamic going on in me. But at the end of the day, she taught me to care about people. And I think if you care about people, the rest is going to take care of itself in the sales business because it's all about relationships. So I agree with you. I really do. And I appreciate the kind words.
Thank you, Nancy, for sharing.
Good.
Larry, how you doing?
Hey.
Say something?
This is John Murchison. Hey, quick question. So your pre-game plan, so your pre-listing, you had a list of questions or questions that you asked. Do you actually have like a list or a questionnaire that you go off of to help you follow, to get as much information in the beginning before you actually go out to do your presentation?
That's a good question. The answer is absolutely. Now I'm pretty comfortable with the steps, but just to always be safe because we're busy and our mind's on different things, before I make that call, I have my notepad out and I write down a couple things that I know that I want to get answered. It just kind of helps remind you, because when you're inviting, them to talk and trying to create the dialogue, sometimes that goes in a different direction. You can be on the phone for 30 minutes. So you don't want to forget your purpose in that process. Certainly we want to create the relationship. We want to give them as much time as they need, but we don't want to get off point from the standpoint of garnering the information that's important to us.
Okay. If you have something that you can maybe share with the group, especially some of the newer agents, I definitely know that would be helpful. Sure, that's one thing that I would want to look at.
Mm-hmm. No problem. And that outline that Carrie talked about has some of that. If you want to pull it up, take a look at it. And again, if you have any questions and I can help in any way, feel free to shoot me an email, a call. I'll do the best I can to answer them or assist, or at least tell you how I do it. Again, that's not the golden rule, but hopefully, it'll help help get you where you want to go. Good to go?
All right, thank you so much, Larry. Again, everyone, I will send you Larry's contact information as well as the outline from today if you have any other questions for him. Larry, thank you so much. That was so amazing. We all, I'm sure, were very immersed in all of your experiences. It was great.
You're the man, Larry.
Yeah,
No
thanks,
doubt
Mike.
about it, man.
I appreciate it. And again, I'm just very proud of myself that I hit that time perfectly. That's impressive. I'm kidding. You guys have a great day. And hey, get those appointments, sell those listings.